Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Connect to Florida. Today we're going to be talking about contract cancellations. I'm going to tell you what that means in this real estate world, how that happens, and then also we're going to talk about the top 4 counties that are seeing the biggest increase, the biggest number of contract cancellations effective April 2025. So this is very up-to-the-minute data. Grab your coffee, you're going to want to hear this. All right, now listen, before we jump into the video, if this is the first time we're meeting, let me introduce myself. My name is Barrett Pastor, and I've been a real estate broker for over 27 years. So hopefully I'm coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience, and I can help you navigate all crazy things Florida real estate. So if you're interested in a consultation, I will leave all my contact information right here and also down below in the description box. So we're going to be talking about which counties are seeing the highest number of contract cancellations. So let's first dive into what the last quarter of 2024 looked like and moving into the first quarter of 2025. So like I said, this is going to be as recent as we can get it. So in the last quarter of 2024 and the opening quarter of 2025, the highest number of contract cancellations occurred in Charlotte County. So where is that? Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte. Why did that happen? Well, first of all, you have buyer's regret, buyer's disappointment in maybe Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda. Unfortunately, a lot of people thought during COVID that that was going to be sort of the one-off they were looking for. They couldn't necessarily afford or compete with the craziness that was going on in the bigger cities like Naples. I should say maybe well-known cities like Naples or Sarasota. So they figured, okay, I'll be a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, depending on where you're picking. I'll be within target range of those cities that I really wanted, but look, I can buy over here in Northport and it'll be way less expensive and I'll just drive a little bit farther to the beach. And what they discovered was it isn't the same. If they were people who were familiar with Sarasota, St. Armand Square, Naples, downtown Naples, that was what they really loved. And then they kind of settled for the JV team and they went with Northport, or maybe they went with, I don't know, some people don't care for Englewood, some people don't like Venice, some people don't like Bonita Springs, whatever it is. Whichever one off or two off would be like Babcock Ranch, that's way out there. They determined that, yeah, they thought it was going to be what they wanted, but it really did not check the boxes. I always say work to a 90% solution. If you get close enough, you're there. But these communities, I think people talked themselves into something that really wasn't what they were looking for. So that happened, and then the builders got nervous, and there were a couple builders in Port Charlotte that bailed out of big projects. Not good, not good. You never want to see that. Now remember, Babcock Ranch is Punta Gorda, technically. It's feels like it could be Fort Myers, but it isn't. They're taking a beating right now as well. That's new construction. They're seeing an enormous amount of contract cancellations. In Northport, in and around Northport, that area, which is Charlotte County, there are a lot of sort of what I'll call spot builders, where just random Joe builder from Michigan buys a lot and then they contract to put up a home. And it reminds me a lot of Cape Coral, that it's just these little spot builders that throw these homes up. A lot of those are having funding issues, financial problems. When you go on the internet and you see these half-built houses. So that's what has been going on. It has been, the reigning champion has been Charlotte County by a lot. Second to that, by the way, was Lee County. Lee County was Cape Coral, need I say more. So let's talk about what's going on right now, April 2025. Who is the reigning champ now? It is Orlando, Orange County, 19.4% contract cancellation. So what does that mean? Well, when you write an offer, you've got two things you can do with it, essentially. I'm not going to get into all the details, but essentially you have two choices. You can write on a standard contract that gives you the right to a building inspection. Both contracts give you the right to a building inspection, but the obligation of the seller and the buyer to perform under one of the contracts says that if ABC is wrong, you have to give the seller an opportunity to repair these problems. Otherwise, your earnest money is at risk. Or you can ask for monetary compensation. You know, you have to come to an agreement. But some of the contracts, depending on the area you're talking about, some of them give a lot of leeway to the buyer to make the decision, and a lot of buyers are making the decision to bail. Another contract that I really like to use is an as-is contract. So you have as-is with due diligence. You can do any and all inspections that you want. You can do no inspections. You heard that right. You can put a property under contract, do no inspections, and walk from the contract. So if you wrote an offer on 3 different properties, you couldn't make up your mind, and you wrote on all 3, and you got an accepted contract on all 3, and you know you're only going to buy one, you can do that with an as-is contract as long as it's written correctly. So essentially, you're negotiating the price on the front end, and then a lot of times people will then make the decision to go ahead and fly in and pick a home. So in those scenarios, a lot of people have been choosing out. Whether it be political environment, you know, looming potential wars going on, interest rates that aren't dropping, difficulty selling their home up north that they thought they would sell like that, no problem. There's clauses in a builder's contract. All of them are different. Make sure you're working with a good agent. Never go to new construction by yourself. So there are clauses there that give you that blanket out. Number 2 is Tampa, very, very close behind, 19.1% contract cancellations. Now, the main reason you're seeing high cancellations in Tampa is concern over the weather, because nobody really talked about that too much in Tampa. They felt a little bit protected, but since the big storm that came through last year and all the fear of the flooding, and many people that did experience flooding and then problems with their flood insurance and their homeowners insurance, plus all the new construction and building, they are seeing a lot of buyer trepidation, a lot of buyer second thoughts. 19.1% in Hillsborough County. All right. All right, number 3 is mainly because of the new rules and regs with the condos, the structural engineer reports, the assessments that are through the ceiling. I just read one this morning that was on the news that a community got hit with a $3.5 million assessment, and people are just absolutely losing their mind because they don't know how they're going to be able to afford it. Now, keep in mind, that's not for one unit. They're going to spread that over all of the doors. But in this particular community, I think they said there was only like 175 doors. So it's going to be a lot of money assessment per owner of each property. So that is Miami-Dade. I'm talking about Fort Lauderdale and Miami. 18.9% cancellation. Now, I just want to remind you, all of these numbers that I'm giving you are April 2025, so very, very recent. And then the last one is Jacksonville, Duval County, 18.4% cancellation rate. What we're seeing is all of these builders flocked to the area as soon as they saw that data, how popular this area was. They flocked to the area and started buying up land, putting up new developments, and now the signing of these new developments, people interested in contracting for homes in these communities has dropped significantly, 18.4%. So think about that. What is that? 18.4 to what was the top one? 19.8 or so. So the 4 counties that are seeing the most cancellations are within a point and a half of each other. So it's very, very significant. Now, one thing I want to bring up is who's not on that list. We don't see Charlotte County on that list. We don't see Lee County on that list. We don't see Sarasota County on that list. all of that is good news for folks that are living in homes in these areas. They are not number one. They are not number one. And that is a really good thing. And I like to watch that because that can be an indicator for you of who is going to bounce back first. So why do you care who's going to bounce back first? Well, if you're a buyer, that might say to you, you right now in the summer of 2025, where there are a ton, just jump on the website that rhymes with pillow. There are a ton of homes on the market in Lee County, Charlotte County, in and around this area. Look at Venice, look at Inglewood. But if that walk up, if that little slight trending up begins during season 2026, January, February, March, and your window of opportunity to buy $50,000, $75,000 lower was right now in the summer of 2025, you need to know that. You need to pay attention to that. So that's why I do these videos, is so that you can watch what the trending's doing. You know, at some point you do have to get out the crystal ball and make your best guess, but I'm telling you, listen, I know somebody is gonna, fake account it up, but I have been right on this, my friends. I have been right on this. So if you're targeting the area, you need to know who's seeing problems and who now is not.